Okay, so welcome everyone to our Study Abroad podcast series. So today we have Harshal who just graduated from Wharton and he's from IIT Bombay and be knowing about his journey from India to Wharton. So welcome Harshal to our podcast.
Thank you very much, Vishal, and thank you everyone for having me.
Sure. So Harshal, so I see that you are from IIT Bombay and you did your BTech from there.
hmm
So how did you land in IIT Bombay that time?
That time, well, I would like to say it was more of a luck, but no, all the credit goes to my mom. Since early days, she was the one who introduced me to what IITs were. And then I spent 2 years at Kota during my 11th and 12th. Loved the 2 years despite what any TV series would have you believe. So yeah, I had a fun time there and gave the exam, got a decent enough rank, and landed at IIT Bombay.
Sure, sure. So at IIT Bombay, there are like a lot of people who go abroad in general, right? And a lot of
Hmm.
them do it like just after the college itself. So in
Hmm.
your case, what took you so long?
Yeah, so in my case, I guess the difference is if I were to stay in the core field of engineering, then I would have chosen the path which many of my amazing classmates and friends did. But I wanted to pursue an MBA. That was clear when I was in my third year, yeah. And then after having decided, okay, MBA will be the right thing, as you know a bit more about MBA, you realize that work experience is something that's really important and would add a lot of value. Not to say that that's also a prerequisite for some of these sort of big name programs. And that got me to getting into work experience first and then an MBA.
Sure, sure, sure. So there is, also MBA available in India, like IIMs and like other colleges,
Hmm.
etc. So what were the colleges in your mind that you thought that, okay, these are the colleges I should apply for MBA?
Well, so my sort of introduction to MBA happened through the SJM, Shailesh J. Mehta School of Management at IIT Bombay, wherein I interacted with a ton of friends who had friends who were at IIMs. And I would say I was lucky in that sense, wherein through those individuals, I understood what life at IIMs would be. IIMs are great, nothing against them. But at that point in time, I had this thing in my mind that I wanted to gain more of global exposure because I saw myself working outside India for a little while and then coming back to India. So, considering all of that in mind, I was focused just on the outside MBAs. Back then, I was naive, and I would just look at the QS World rankings and would think that yes, LBS had at that time had the top ranking, so LBS would be the thing. But as you learn more, understand more, and know what's the difference between a European B school or a US B school, that's how I decided that okay, USB schools make more sense, and that was the choice.
And you applied to few of the B schools when you were thinking about MBA?
Yeah, so in my application cycle, I applied to 6 schools, all from M7. Um, so yeah,
So M7 is like all US top seven, is it?
top seven or not is debatable. They are just they're these group of schools which are known among business people for having good MBAs. And yeah, so it's just that's what I would like to call just a group of schools. Nothing more, nothing less.
But all in US, is it?
Yes, all of them are in US. All of them are in US.
Okay, okay. So out of this seven, you applied to six. So how did you discard one of them?
Yes, the one which I didn't apply to was Stanford because I had actually applied to Stanford when I was just an year out of my undergrad, and then I realized. So back then again, I didn't have much of a guidance in terms of what I was doing. I was just a kid sitting in Gurgaon, an year out of undergrad, working on his day job, filling an application. So the application was crude, the resume was not well made, the story was not in place, and hence Stanford didn't select me. But as I researched more, it turns out that Stanford, I mean, when I was actually applying, that's when I really understood the profiles of these schools, how one school is different from another, and how one school is more suited to a certain type of individual than another. So Stanford has this extreme focus on entrepreneurs. Back then, I didn't have any sort of entrepreneurial experience and felt like I didn't have a shot at Stanford, so didn't apply.
Sure, sure, sure. So In a way, you took like pseudo revenge from them that they rejected you, now you rejected them.
No, no, nothing like that, Stanford. I don't have anything remotely close to what Stanford does for me to take a revenge. Not at all. It was just that, yeah, I realized I was still not good enough to make it to Stanford, so I would rather save my application money because money is money.
Sure, sure, sure. So out of these six applications, you got admit from few of them, or what was the
Yes,
thing that?
so I had two admits, and some others were still in process while I received the two admits. But after I received the Wharton admit, I sort of abandoned the other processes because it also is not good to waste the admission committee's time. So you politely let them know that you would be going somewhere else, and that sort of opens up seats for other candidates as well. So that's what I did.
Sure, sure. And you had to write some tests as an application process here.
Yeah, so all of these B schools require you to take a standardized test. You can either take GRE or GMAT. I had a GRE score, but it was old. I mean, I had given GRE when I was in undergrad. So just because I had some time and I was told that a fresh GMAT score would be nice on the application, so I gave GMAT. You can give just one of the two, and that would be fine.
But like all these six applications, you had to choose what which score to give, like GRE or GMAT, or you just chose randomly that here I'll give GMAT, here I'll give GRE.
So in my case, I reported both the scores. You can choose to report just one score. And in terms of sending the scores, it's just a technicality with GMAT. So MBA.com is the institution slash website that conducts the GMAT exam. While you're giving the exam, just after the exam, you get to choose which school to send these scores to. So you do have to ask the exam administrator to send your scores to these B schools.
Okay, okay. So you have like I think four or five as free score sending thing in those GMAT GRE.
Yeah, back when I was giving, I think it was three. I don't remember clearly. I think it was three, and then the
The other.
paid for three more. Hmm.
Sure, sure. So and then there was no other test like TOEFL, IELTS, etc. for your MBA.
No, 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 no such. So those depend on the kind of undergrad degrees that you have. I would say for most Indian degrees wherein English is the primary method of communication and teaching, you would be fine. You just have to verify that once. I believe. Yeah, for IITs, it was not a requirement.
Sure, sure. So you already were clear that okay, it's not needed, so you never gave. You just gave the GRE GMAT.
Correct.
Sure. And about your visa process, any hiccups in the visa getting the slots or the documents, etc.?
Yeah, I was lucky in that sense because through my amazing work, I had B1, B2 visa already, which are the business and visitor visa for US. And once you have that, you sort of have gone through biometric and everything else. So as an student, I would need one more visa, which is F1. All I had to do was just do a drop-in appointment. What that means is you fill a form, you go to one of these centers, you submit your form, and that is it. You don't have to appear for interviews or whatsoever. But I do remember some individuals were having issues. All of that is secondary. I would not, for anyone who's listening, I would say don't worry that much about the visa aspect of things. Focus on getting your admission, and with the bits, rest will fall in place.
So you have been to US like couple of times before coming to Wharton?
Yes, yes. So I had been to US a few times before, spent a decent amount of time working on projects here. So yeah.
Sure. So in your statement of purpose, that is also one of the requirement. Did you mention that I have already been to US and I have seen the culture, this, that, and now I would like to extend it to the next level?
Could you elaborate a bit more about the statement
The
of purpose? I'm not sure I'm familiar with the
So,
document.
I mean, there is a something like statement of purpose also required for a lot of these abroad applications, like a essay.
So yeah, yeah. The essay things, those are the most important part of your application. Rest else is just how should I say, a side dish. Doesn't
Yeah,
matter. Those are the basic checks that they would do.
sure.
Um, your profile and other bits are there, but your resume and your essays are the bits on which your admission decision is made. So yeah, every school has essays. Some schools have two, some have three. That's generally about it. Some have just one. But yeah, essays are the ones. which take
And
a
you
lot of
have
time.
to give a recommendation letter also here.
Yeah, most schools require two recommendation letters, and they have to come from your recommenders. Those
So,
are the bits. Sorry, I misspoke earlier. It's resume, your essays, and your recommendation letters, which make up your application mainly.
so in your essay, you would have mentioned that, I did work here and there, and I had like B1, B2, or like the business visits to US, which maybe motivated you to, further come to US for a full-time study or something.
Yeah, I didn't position it like that because from my perspective, it was less of saying that yeah, I had been there and that sort of situation. It was more sort of that you, the school, are the one that I have been following, and all I care about is you. If you were in Antarctica, I would apply to Antarctica. It's the school that mattered more to me, and not the country, so to say. And the international experience does, I mean, it does help, but I just mentioned it as a point that yes, I have had this experience which displays my ability to fit well with multiple cultures.
So when you were visiting US like few times for your business visits and all, did
Hmm.
you also visit Wharton or any other B school just to get motivated or something like that?
No, I did not. I did not. I wish I was clever enough and smart enough to have done that. But no, I didn't. I was not planning that ahead of time. I didn't know back then that that was a thing that would matter or provide anything specific. So I didn't. But if someone else
Because
has a chance, I would recommend them to visit.
yeah, that's what I probably wanted to hear, that, if someone else has a chance, maybe they should visit if they are going to US.
Yeah, and be clear in that. I would say if you do are if you are in US and you choose to visit, here are a few things you should do. First, you should well in advance drop an email to the admissions committee or the admissions department, not the committee, admissions department. They usually are pretty nice and sweet and they can organize a tour for you. Many times throughout the year, there are tours which happen throughout these universities and business schools. So you can plan your trip according to that. In addition to reaching out to the admissions department, I would say reach out to some professors or some students whomsoever you know and try to meet them because it's one thing to look at a place from an official's perspective. It's another thing to look at it from someone like a professor or a student's perspective. Do that, have those meetings. They will be much more important than you just randomly going and roaming around because it's just a bunch of stone buildings, nothing more.
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. I think meeting up with the student or professor or like the real ones who are actually the beneficiary would be probably more
Correct.
beneficial. Sure, sure.
Hmm.
And your accommodation thing, was there any assistance from the university or you had to do everything by your own?
We mostly have to do it at Wharton. We mostly have to do everything on our own. It depends from university to university. I think at Kellogg there are some options that are there, but yeah, it depends. It depends. Harvard, yeah, Harvard, I for sure know has its own accommodation thing, which is pretty nice and good. At Wharton, you have to do it yourself.
Sure, sure, sure. And how was your flight trajectory? Like, how did you fly from India to Wharton?
I am. It depends. I would always just pick the cheapest option that was available. It didn't matter as much. So I had taken all sorts of combinations. Like I think layover. It's mainly layovers. So from Delhi or Bombay, I would go to at times Dubai, at times Doha. If you go the other way around with Cathay Pacific, you have a layover at Hong Kong. And if you pick a really bad flight, you might have a layover at Sydney at times. It happens. Yeah, it depends. You can have layover at London Heathrow. British Airways runs through that route, so it depends.
So in your case, you took all the combinations so far? Like,
Yeah, I've so far done all the combinations.
you didn't
Yeah,
consider China as one of the stopovers now?
China. It was about to happen, but no, that flight is pretty expensive. I am still waiting for a time wherein they either invite me for that or the price drops. Mostly Cathay Pacific is a cheaper option, and with Cathay, the thing is 2 days prior, Cathay drops its prices for a last moment flight. And I have many times sadly been in a situation where I had to book last minute. So yeah,
Okay, okay. So,
China, not yet, but one day, one day.
so this can be one tip, try Cathay if it's a last minute booking.
Yeah, try Cathay. Or very recently, I think as of 3, 4 weeks ago, Indigo has started also its route in combination with Turkish. So yeah, take that. sleep throughout the flight, eat before and after, just relax.
Sure, sure, sure. And once you came to Wharton at the initial days and all, like you were settling here, like previously it was more like a short-term visit, this, that. And this time
Hmm.
you are settling here and then you have to probably do your cooking, cleaning, etc. Were you used
Hmm.
to some of this or this was all like new for you?
No, I was used to all of it. I have been sort of away from home since that 11th standard quota thing. Uh, Lived at Gurgaon, lived at other countries. So another thing about me, I was constantly traveling before Wharton as well for my work. So yeah, that was something which was pretty common. And I had a very amazing roommate with me, so all that was fun and nice.
Sure, sure. And what's your class size like in your batch?
We had, I think, 776 folks, so 750 to 800 roughly is the class size at Wharton. At
Uh-huh.
Harvard, they go at around 1,000, 900 to 1,000. Rest, you will have to check.
And what was the demographics like for this 700 plus students?
In what sense?
In like
From the
country wise, like all 200 countries covered almost.
Yeah, I would say I don't know that metric specifically. I know for sure that it's on the Wharton website. But yeah, we have. I can't make a statement whether all 200 were covered or not, but we had people from all over the place. And it
And
mattered less actually. Uh, After a while, yeah, it mattered less where individuals from, unless we wanted a trip to that location. We'd be like, yeah, we want a trip to Israel, and we will find a friend from Israel who will take us through the whole country.
you have a lot of group assignments and all, right? How were
Hmm.
these groups formed? Like what kind of group sizes were there in your case?
Com Completely depends on the professors and the course that's happening. At times, the groups are pre-designed, and based on some criteria, they create the groups. Other times, you can choose your own groups. So it's a combination on group sizes. Somewhere around 4 to 6 is generally where we land at. Anything bigger is just too much, wherein people do not get substantial amount of work individually. Anything smaller is too much lifting and very little collaboration. Wharton being a very collaborative school, I think, yeah, we stick with 4 to 6.
Sure, sure. So the fees at, this top B schools, the M7, so-called M7, is like quite high, like, one of the
Hmm,
highest in the world probably. So
right.
when you are studying there for 2 years and, with all this exposure and all, do you think that kind of fees is justified or it's slightly overpriced?
There are different ways of looking at it. One way is if you just look at what you are getting versus that fee that's there. Another way to look at it is it's a once in a lifetime thing which you cannot get anywhere else. And then between these two, the justification thing is a very personal decision. I or no one else can make a comment that it's justified or not. All we can say for sure is that yes, it's a very substantial amount for most individuals. But yeah, it's if you look at your career as or assume your career to be something like a 40 years long thing, and yeah, if you do go through Wharton, you would more than recoup the amount that you are putting into your tuition. That's the hope.
Sure.
That's what we are all hoping.
And also the alumni network and all, be like quite helpful, like till eternity.
Yes, yes, because that's the alumni network on that people keep on stating, and I am pretty big on that. Not just the alumni network, I would say the people who are there with you in the classroom. The courses are going to be same. Accounting is accounting whether you study that in India or Korea or US, or whether you study at your home alone. It's not going to change. But what changes is the people you are with. I would say I learned 80% of whatever I learned from my classmates and professors, and 20% from the things that were there, so to say.
So out of this, let's say 700 people, probably
Hmm.
for 2 years, I think it may not be so possible to obviously network with all of them. So how
Right.
did you, in
Never
your
is.
case especially, how did you choose, which are the people you should network with? Like, let's say somebody was in your class, that was one thing. Apart from
Hmm.
that, how did you decide, who should be in your network? Like, did you use any hack?
Yeah, no, sadly, I am not that crazy on networking, I would say, and I still do say that I hate the term networking. I have never networked, so to say. For me, I have been lucky in life in the sense that I just followed what felt right or good, and it has worked. So at Wharton as well, it was never a designed approach that, oh, I need to talk to these sort of individuals or make these sort of connections. It was just that I remained open. I was showing up to events, doing different things, was trying not to get pigeonholed in one thing. And then as you meet individuals, whosoever you vibe with, whosoever you have a good connect with, you keep going on that connect. And I personally would recommend the same. Uh, an extremely specific networking approach might not yield you good connections. And now it's slightly different thing if you're talking about recruiting or jobs. There you understand, then we don't call it, I mean, yeah, then you can call it networking. But don't do that with your classmates. Won't be fun.
Sure, sure, sure. And there were any part-time jobs or internships that you went through in this 2 year of education?
Yeah, I did two internships in my summer. I first was a investment banker in New York, Credit Suisse technology coverage group, and then I worked with a VC based in New York, which was also a tech-focused VC on the investment side. Apart from that part-time work, I used to work with this center. I'm not trying to remember the name, but essentially, for it was a center for disabled students, and you can or differently able students. Sorry, uh, I would take notes for those who had hearing impairment, and yeah, that was one bit. Apart from that, there are a ton of other things that you can do on campus. You can work with professors. There is on those who are interested in consulting or were consultants before. You can do Snyder consulting, and just yeah, bunch of other things.
Sure, sure, sure. And after you graduate, what's like your future goals like for next few years? What are your goals?
Next few years, let's see. Find my partner. That would be top one that my parents would like me to keep up there.
So
So
partner
yeah,
means marriage,
yeah,
right?
yeah, life partner. That would be a fun thing because yeah. So that would be one. Apart from that, in terms of the work I'm doing, I'm really hoping to find a good fit in an investing role somewhere. I'm not sure, considering my experience, whether that would happen or not. So we'll see. But yeah, those are the goals to find a decent fit where I can leverage my past experience and the skills that I have acquired and just have fun at what I'm doing.
So during MBA, what we have seen, like in mostly the case, people find their job and partner right while doing their MBA. You didn't aim
Yeah,
for the dual target.
I was the unlucky one who could not. I was the unlucky one who could not. Maybe
You
if I
can
did my MBA again, I would
you
rectify that.
you continued the IIT legacy, isn't it?
Nah, I won't call that because that's shaming IIT as well. So nah, there were amazing people at Wharton. It just didn't progress to that level. Let's just
Sure,
say
sure.
that.
Okay, okay, sure, sure, sure. That's good.
Mhm.
Yeah, we hope you find your marriage partner in the next few years for your
Yeah, my
parents.
parents would be really happy.
And I
Yeah.
think you will be also happy probably in the long run. It's like
Yeah, I mean, I
everyone is
strongly
happy
believe it's
eventually.
yeah, based on so I have pretty different beliefs compared to traditional young folks how they think right now. I strongly feel that my MBA or my job doesn't matter as much as finding the right person because wholeheartedly that's the most important decision that would bring the most that can either bring a lot of joy or a lot of chaos in life. So yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
see.
Don't you like challenges?
Not these kind of challenges. There are enough challenges to be had in life. Go seek out those, not in your home. Outside. Challenges are good outside, not inside.
Sure, sure, sure. That's a good point. Challenges are good outside the home, not inside the home. So
Hmm.
do pick your partner or job accordingly.
Yeah.
Sure, sure. Okay. So Harshal, so coming to the very last question now, so what advice would you give to younger yourself or the people who are aspiring to study abroad or MBA, M7 or anywhere else? Any specific advices, any pro tips that you would like to highlight?
Yeah, I would say the first thing would be don't wait for yourself to become ready to do things. Often we get into this trap that, oh, I will spend the next 6 months study for this exam or doing this, and then I'll be ready to start my process. That's not the right thing to do. There's no one way to get into a program or to do a thing. There are 100 ways, and you could be better suited following some other way. So for that, I would suggest reach out to as many individuals as possible, talk to as many people as possible. Uh, for example, me, myself, I would go back to my undergrad self and drag me by the ear and tell that Harshal that you need to apply for these 2+2 programs which B schools have, wherein I would have gotten the work experience for 2 years and still would have had a chance. When you're in undergrad or college, you have more time on your hands, then you can put efforts into these applications. It becomes a bit tough when you're working on a bit demanding job, some sort of demanding jobs. So yeah, don't wait that once I do this, then I will talk to this person. Talk to this person, uh, reach out to individuals, be completely understanding that not everyone will have time to reply back. Some of them will be able to, some won't be able to, but you will know. And don't just take the standard answer as the only answer. Someone tells you you have to work 3 years in MBB and then do this, and that's when you will get a seat in MBA. Not true. Not true. Because, yeah, there are hundreds of ways to doing things.
Sure, sure, sure. So thank you, Harshal, for your time, and it was great
Hmm.
knowing your experience and your advices to our audience. So thank you very much. Have a good day.
Sure, happy to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Bye. Have a good day.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.